Hey everybody, welcome. Before we get going, let me just address my voice. Sorry, I've been like sick the last couple days and I know I sound crazy, but I sounded even worse earlier today. I've been mute almost all day trying to get on this episode for you guys. So, I apologize. It is what it is. We're going to blast through it, okay?
We forgive you, Tamara. It's not your fault you're sick. You
Oh,
know,
thank you. All right, here's the intro. Hey everyone, welcome to the recap of the Walking Dead universe. We are here live every week to discuss the latest episodes. You can catch our recaps at any time on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and more. Subscribe for free in the app of your choice today. For those of you joining us live, thanks so much for taking time out of your evening to be here. I am Tamara Ford, and I love a good TV show, and I love a good book, of course. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at The Recap Pods. If you're into books, you can also find me at Shelf Diction. Joining me is show co-host Lisa. Welcome, Lisa.
hello, Tamara. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Orban. I am an author, and I am also the founder of Indies United Publishing House. You can find me all across the web at Lisa Orban Author, and I love all things pop culture, so I can't wait to talk about tonight's 2 episodes.
Yes. And before we get going, of course, we want to remind you that we want your participation in this conversation. So if you are listening live on YouTube or Facebook, hit us up in the comments section. Let us know where you're listening from. If you're catching this on a replay, you can still comment on any platform, or you can leave us a voicemail using the link in the show notes from anywhere around the world. So we want to hear from you and possibly include your comments in upcoming episodes. So if you are brand new here, welcome. We are laid back in our review style, aren't we, Lisa?
We are. This is a conversation, not a dissertation.
Yeah, no scene by scene breakdowns here. We jump around. Huge spoiler alert for everything up through these episodes we're talking about today.
That's right, and we
Um,
don't go ahead, even though both of us have AMC Plus, and we absolutely could watch ahead. For you, our listeners, we do not, so we can't color our commentary on upcoming knowledge.
right. And if you're cool with that, we're cool with you. We're glad you're here. So let's just jump into the thing. Where should we start? We're gonna start with fear, as we always do. Our most liked show, I guess, of the.
Yes, yes. I it's weird. I gotta tell you, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, this episode kind of made me feel a little uncomfortable, and I'm not quite sure why. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but it kind of made me feel a little creepy crawly by about a halfway, 3/4 the way through. I was like, I am so ready for this episode to be over with.
Really?
I mean, it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It was just I don't know, there was something about it. I mean, it might have been the way that Grace was responding to the baby. It might have been the baby crying.
That was a
Okay.
lot of crying.
Okay, I'm gonna be real truthful here. Okay. That is probably the most I've heard a baby cry in years. Okay. And and I remember why, babies are a lot of work. And I think that might have actually I think the baby crying throughout the entire thing was a little triggering to me.
I think it probably was triggering for a lot of people, to be honest. I'm like, that was a lot of freaking crying. I'm
Yeah.
like, what did they do to that kid to have her constantly crying? Or did they like put her on a loop or what? Like, ugh.
Uh, uh, I listened to the director thing afterwards, and, they said that, how did they put it? They said, "We needed her to cry, and we gotta tell you, she's a true actress. She was a champ. She cried a lot." And I'm like, "Okay." I
Yeah,
mean, and
I think they were being funny. Like, it doesn't take
yeah,
much for a baby to cry.
and it doesn't. I mean, babies get they wanna be held, and you're not holding them, so they cry. They're hungry, and they cry. They wanna be doing something, and at the end of the episode, they had the baby crawling, and I know a lot of babies that when they start to get to that where we're almost ready to crawl and we are crawling and we're being forced to sit and not be able to
Yeah.
crawl is very upsetting to them, so they'll cry because they want freedom. Um,
Oh,
so it could have been, you know
could have been anything.
yeah.
But in this case, though, in the context of the show, the baby's crying because the baby's hungry, dude.
Mhm. Oh,
And that's
yeah.
it. Like, the kid is starving, and at one point, Morgan says, he's trying to give her food. He's like, "She's not ready for this food. She can't eat it. She needs
Mhm.
milk."
Yeah.
So, that's why her ass is crying, and it's, like, traumatizing to hear. I get it. It is. I felt bad for Mo. I really did.
Yeah.
Little baby
Well,
Mo.
and then there was Grace's unease, and it's not that she didn't have valid reason. I mean, she just lost her baby, you know? Um,
Yeah.
about how about how long has it been since Grace lost the baby? It hasn't been that long, has it?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about, we're trying to figure out how long it's been. So what, maybe 3 or 4 months, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not we've got the trauma of losing, her baby and, the nuclear bombs and another baby now, and, she's not you can see that she is not coping well with any of it. She doesn't you know, she's being left with the baby, but she's so uncomfortable and she's so you know, not present, which again, if this was a real life scenario would be a reason for a baby to cry. Babies
Yeah.
do pick up on how people feel if they're uncomfortable, if they're stressed, and they respond to that. So, I mean, in a very real way, I mean, hunger played a large role in it, but again, she was much quieter when she was with Morgan than she was with Grace, you know?
Yeah, Grace clearly, and it's like, yeah, I think Grace didn't come off in the best light in this episode, but it's like you got to remember she didn't sign up for that. She didn't. At the end of last season, she wanted to die.
Yeah, well,
And
she's
that's
actually wanted to
very
die for a
clear.
while now, you know?
Yeah. So for her to take to, baby Mo in that, it took a lot for her to, like, for that maternal type feeling to turn on for her, because
Mhm.
she didn't want to replace her child, right? She didn't want to do that. She didn't want to be there. It was a whole lot of things she was
Yeah.
working against for
Well,
Morgan's sake,
and it
basically.
well, you have to think too, I mean, the feelings of guilt that she would have, she just lost a baby, and by showering by giving Mo that kind of affection, it almost would feel like a betrayal to the
Mhm.
daughter she just lost,
Mhm.
I mean, it's, you know understandable that Mo as a baby, you can't reason with babies, you can't. It's
Right.
not like Grace could look at her and say, "Hey, I just lost a baby, and, you're just gonna have to, help me out here." The babies don't understand that,
No.
Grace has needs, and babies are very, very needy, and, and there's no one else, there's just her, and it's just Morgan, and, they can't she's just she's kind of she's a bit dissociative at this point between everything that she's gone through and all that she's lost and culminating in the loss of her baby and now just her worst nightmare. Morgan picked her up at a nuclear waste meltdown situation and now she's back in another one. you know
Yeah, I think though, at the end of that episode, I felt like she was understanding that she could care for Mo and still miss her Athena, right?
yes, yeah,
The 2 weren't mutually exclusive. You
no,
can do both. And I think that because Mo is so little, that's not gonna have any kind of long-term, like, scar on her, I don't think. She's so little.
right. Well,
So, thankfully for that.
and I really think, if they had stayed in the submarine and had not left, I don't think she would have bonded with the baby,
No.
okay? But once they got on the road and there was, the actual danger, to her, to the baby, to Mo, and, you know, at about the time that right before, when they were stuck in the garage and, they're trying to get the car fixed and everything else, um, I think that's about when her instincts started to really kick in, and then when, Peter, I think his name was, the guy, when she found out that he was gonna kill the baby, gonna kill Mo, that's when it really kicked in when, how close Mo actually came to dying, and I think that triggered it, at that point,
Oh, yeah,
and
it's like, she has a line, right? "You're not gonna kill this child."
right, and so although I do find it interesting, so, they drove 3 hours in a car and weren't getting out of the blast area, but somehow, Strand walking on foot managed to make it well outside of the blast zone, so apparently, I don't I mean, I guess wind conditions, atmospheric conditions, could spread it, I suppose, but at the same time, I'm going, "Huh," I just you would
Once again, they're not really paying attention to, like, those details because
yeah,
it doesn't make sense. If they're driving that far, they don't I read an article and they said it perfectly. They said this show doesn't do a good job anchoring us to the time and place and
mhm,
making us understand how things work because you're right. If they drove 3 hours, they should be out of the blast zone based on how far, Strand is. So
mhm.
it doesn't make sense. I can't.
Well,
I can't.
I mean, I do know that
Yeah.
atmospheric conditions do play a role, okay, and generally speaking, when it comes to weather patterns, our weather patterns run, west to east. So,
Yeah.
if they are traveling eastwardly, which is looking at the map, you know, so we know that they're heading towards New Orleans or, Louisiana at this point, um, and they're coming from around the Texas area, they've been going east. So,
Hmm.
that would probably extend it. So, I mean, they would've probably been better off going, like, a northwesterly direction, you
Hmm.
know? Um, and if I was in that situation trying to figure out the best route to take, that's probably the route I would have chosen, northwesterly, just because, again, the weather patterns, the wind patterns run west to east. Not always, but
Hmm.
that's almost how they always go. So,
Hmm.
you would the wind's blowing it towards the Gulf. And, so yeah, but at the same time, it's still oh my god.
Right. Right.
And we also
Um.
know that, even though because where they're at is basically dead center of the destruction zone, um, Strand's people were able to make it on horseback. Um, I think they were on horseback. Maybe they were in a truck, I don't know. Um, to the submarine.
Right.
So, I thought that
Which
little
is also random as well. Like, what did you even like? What even brought you to that submarine? Like, I know he says something about some intel or something, but it just seemed weird for them to just be there. It was kind of
I
strange.
I know, okay, here's what my thought is. So Strand, after meeting this guy, or what was his name from last week? Peter?
Oh, Will, I
Something.
think.
Will,
Yeah.
that's it. Um, and I think it kinda stirred up some emotions in Strand, and I think he was curious to see, he doesn't really wanna see Alicia, but we all know that he's got a chip on his shoulder when it comes to Morgan. And
So it was kind of a let's just check and see if he's there kind of
yeah,
thing.
let's see if he made it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I don't think he's really surprised that Morgan made it. Morgan is a survivor. He's, has as Morgan has often said, "You might die, but I'll survive." I always
Right.
survive. Um, so but I think that they were kind of interested to find out if he had survived and who might have been with him too. Because I think that they were under orders to return other the other people if like Alicia was with them or anybody else like Grace, to offer them sanctuary
Mhm.
and, but rub it in Morgan's face and say, "No, but you can't."
You know, that is all that Strand is about right now. He is just really trying to just, dig the needle in,
Mhm.
just make his point. That's it. That's all he's on right now. And that's some BS in my opinion, but
Like I said, he is
okay.
going down the Negan path, you
Yeah,
know?
we'll see where this goes cuz it's like I feel like his motivations are dumb. Like
Mhm.
I'm curious to see how this ends up going cuz we know Morgan is going to come out on top. I feel like he will. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be Strand kind of conceding, I don't know, apologizing. I don't know, but this bullshit, hopefully it doesn't last all season with
Yeah.
this, Morgan versus Strand kind of thing.
Well,
But
they did I mean, they set that up at the very last episode of last season,
yeah.
that's how they, with Strand going into that apartment or into that building and, basically claiming to be Morgan. "Oh, I tried to save everyone," and yada, 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 yada.
Oh
"My name
god.
is Morgan."
Yeah.
And, so, I mean, right there, we knew that, Strand has got this I mean, it's I think the biggest problem is Strand, for all of his loud and boisterous talk, um, he really has an inferiority complex when it comes to Morgan. You know, he
Yeah.
doesn't everyone else he kinda looks down on, but again, Morgan is an absolute survivor. Morgan can
Mhm.
make it completely on his own. He doesn't need anybody.
Right.
And unlike a lot of the other people that they have gathered up. And so Strand really feels I think he's legitimately feels threatened and by him. And
But that is
one
self-inflicted because Morgan gives two shits about him. Like
Yeah.
he is focused on Grace and Mo, right? He is not
Mhm.
worried about Strand's ass. If he made it, if he didn't, but of course he was surprised to hear he did make it.
Mhm.
He was shocked, but he's like, hey, even take my baby, take this
Right.
kid, because I want the baby to be safe. He
Right.
doesn't care about Strand's ass.
I
So
know.
everything Strand is feeling is self-inflicted.
Mhm. And it often
Even though he
is with people
deserves to,
like
he
that.
deserves revenge on him for what he did. He deserves
Mhm.
it. But
But all Morgan cared about was, "Oh, you mean it's safe?" He's created a
right,
safe space, and the other
right.
guy took it as an opportunity to dig, "Yes, safer than you made it for everyone." Morgan didn't do
Mhm.
any of this crap.
Right.
This wasn't Morgan's fault.
Exactly.
But anyway, I mean, his first thought wasn't, "Oh, I hate Strand," or "I need to get even," or even "I need to get there," or whatever else. It was, "Can you take the baby?"
Right.
She's hungry. She needs a safe place. And I honestly, if Grace had gone with, they would have taken the baby. But if Grace had agreed with Morgan, yes, you take the baby, but I'm staying here. I don't think they would have taken that baby.
Probably not.
You know,
Because who's going to care for the baby? Like that's a whole thing.
it is a whole thing. I mean, of course, babies is the whole point.
Yeah.
But it is a whole thing. And we know that kid
Mhm.
can cry. Oh my god, that kid can cry. And
And I mean, they're not going to be a member of society in any kind of meaningful way for at least 10 years, at
mhm.
least.
Oh, I don't know.
So,
They get pretty
yeah.
cute around 4 or 5. Sometimes
Oh,
3.
yes. I don't
The
know
things
till
they
they
say.
start fucking crying, but that's a whole nother fiasco.
Yeah.
I've been around my
But
nephew a lot lately. He cries like no one's business, let me tell you.
I get it. I get it. I got grandkids. I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but again, and you could even tell because if this was a well-functioning enclave of people that Strand had gotten together, they would not have that kind of a healthy enclave would not have hesitated to take the baby, you
Mhm.
know? Um, for that matter, if it was a healthy one, they would have taken all 3 of them. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But the fact that when Morgan said, "Will you take the baby?" there was hesitation. It was like, "Eh, can't really, rub it, if it's if I take an adult, I can rub it in their face at strands, better than Morgan, but can't really do that with a baby." You know?
I mean, he might earn some redemption points if he did, but
Yeah, but,
he don't care about that.
he doesn't no, I mean, his big thing is, I mean, by taking Grace and leaving Morgan behind, that would have been a big feather in, Strand's cap,
Mhm.
so to speak, and then
You
he can
couldn't even
lord it
take
over
care of
her.
your woman and I could. Ah, ha, ha,
Yeah,
ha, kinda thing. Huh,
exactly.
yeah, right,
But he can't look at a baby and go, "Well, Morgan didn't take care of you. Baby doesn't care." You know?
right.
It's just not the same, you know? So,
Lord have
yeah, it's
mercy.
it's all coming from very selfish reasons. Okay, by the way, we really need to touch on the suitcase for just a second when they
Oh
were
god. Oh god. When B was, like, screaming because like, "Oh, don't" "the suitcase." I'm like he's like, "What in there?" I'm like, "Oh shit, it's a baby in there.
Yeah.
It's her baby in there." I'm like, "You bitch, you keep a baby in the suitcase, a zombie baby?" Oh my god.
Well, the
Ah,
governor kept his daughter, locked
I
on a
know.
chain. I'm just saying.
I know.
But, I mean, I knew. I mean, as soon as they said, "Oh, that's our baby," I was my the wheels started turning, and I was really wondering if, 1, they killed it, which they did. Um,
Yeah.
the guy did, and and I really don't know, he may have killed him because the baby was crying and
Yeah,
was
that's what it
attracting
sound like.
walkers, or
Mhm.
because it was sick anyway and they thought that it was a mercy. Um, but yeah, you
I
could
think
tell that.
that's what B said, she kinda said Fred did that because he was trying to show mercy or something.
Mhm.
I think he just couldn't stand the crying anymore, like how he was doing with Mo. The baby was
Yeah.
crying and he was like, "Shut up. Ah." I'm like, "Oh my god.
Mhm. Yeah.
Somebody stop him."
I mean, watching those 2, I knew from the very beginning, 1, they still had that baby somewhere, you
Mhm.
know, but they had become so disassociated, any crying baby, would be theirs, you know, and
I
as a
know.
representation for the one that, that was in the suitcase that they
Right,
were
I'm like,
keeping with them.
you're carrying around your child, but yet you still gonna try to steal this child and say it's yours?
Mhm. Oh,
Ugh.
yeah, they were. Well, between radiation poisoning, it doesn't just make you lose your hair and everything else. I mean, it does cause severe dementia type, you know, memory issues and incoherent thoughts. It's not pretty. I mean, you could tell. I mean, especially when the wrappings came off her face. No
Girl,
nose. I mean,
B's
she looked.
face, I'm like, "Girl, you look rough. Oh my
Oh
god."
yeah. And of course they had it in the, then they got it in their head that,
Yeah,
they had to save this baby. It became, again, it was kind of a redemption thing. If they could save this baby, then it would be the same as if they had saved their own baby. You know what I mean?
right.
And
And they wanted to take the baby to where? To Padre. Like,
mhm.
what? Okay,
So, which is
that's
somewhere in New
interesting.
Orleans,
Yeah.
or not New Orleans, but Louisiana. I'm gonna go with New Orleans just because, you know,
Mhm.
I, I want New Orleans to survive. Even in the apocalypse, I
Yeah.
expect New Orleans to be New Orleans. Um,
Well,
but and it kinda I guess it kinda
yeah.
makes sense. I mean, Louisiana has parishes, so Parish and Padre
Mm.
is not too terribly far from each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought about it after the fact. I'm like, I should have pushed pause on that map and studied it a little bit more, but I didn't. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going back now.
Yeah, I kinda did the same
Yeah.
thing, but yeah, like I said, I mean, looking at it, you could tell that, that it was somewhere in Louisiana.
Okay.
Um, but and you could see that there was a couple of and the guy had said they've never told us where they're at, but they have told us where they're not. So all the
Hmm.
places that have been X'd out around it was places that they had already eliminated. So,
Mhm.
it has to be somewhere within those circles, that area somewhere within those circles that they hadn't crossed out. So, they didn't know
Mhm.
exactly where it was, but they know it's somewhere there.
Yeah. Which is
So
interesting because I know they're, like, looking at the map like, "Okay, so what makes you think that that's okay?" Versus, again, I don't know quite understand, like, how they know this. I mean, they have cans going from building to building, but how did they get that information? Like, it's interesting. Hopefully, they kind of explain that more, like, how this whole Padre came to be and how people are spreading the word about it, you
mhm.
know?
Well, they did say they heard it, they've been talking to people on the radio.
Yeah.
Now, interesting side note, um, after a nuclear blast,
Mhm.
ham radios work better.
Hmm.
They do, actually.
Okay.
It has to
I'm
do
gonna
with the
take your word on
ionization.
that.
It has to do with the
Yeah.
ionization of the atmosphere, but yeah, they actually work better, so they could if they have a ham radio, even if it had been short range before, they could actually reach farther just because of
Mhm.
ionization in the atmosphere.
Okay. So what did you think about those how those melted crater zombies, how those things look? That was gross.
Oh, it's been gross since it started, okay? All the zombies have been gross.
Let me see. I got a picture of it somewhere. That thing gross. I'm like, ah, gross.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we did see him in the first episode too,
I
though,
know.
you
But I feel
know?
like this was like a up close and personal, like I didn't see in the first episode, or I wasn't paying close attention or something. I'm like, wow,
Well, and
I
yeah,
don't
you
know.
have to remember they've done these zombies before. Again, when Morgan first ran into met Grace, she was out there, trying to contain the nuclear, plant, and they already had irradiated zombies, and they were all
Lord, that's
looking kinda
right.
like that. So, this is
That's
not the
right.
first time they've made those.
That's
You know, they've had
right.
s they've had some practice now. They're ready to up
Well,
their
what about
game.
I don't think the modded Mad Max style ride is a redo. I don't think so. Is that a
That's
redo
not,
too?
no. I
Yeah.
mean, it although I have some issues with it. Um,
Okay.
well, it's okay, it's a car, alright? And he kept saying,
Mhm.
you know, "It's safe inside the car, there's no radiation." "Bitch, please, as soon as you got in there, you'd bring in the radiation with you."
Right.
That's how it
True.
works. You know,
True.
they don't have a clean I mean, going from a clean room or going from the outside into a clean room, then into the car, fine, that's fine. But you can't
Mhm.
have the doors open, and everything else, not to mention the fact there's vents. Cars
Yeah.
have vents. Even when you don't have the air on, there's still a vent unless he sealed them, which is
I
possible,
don't
but at
know.
that point, if it's obviously not completely sealed because they don't have oxygen tanks in there and they're breathing, you
It
know?
was like all of a sudden like, "Hey, I've been working on this ride. Surprise. Let's go." Like, "What?"
Mhm.
Okay.
But
It's a
again,
secret.
as soon as, he kept saying, "The air is pure in there." No, it's not. As soon as you get in there
It's
with those
not.
suits, it's not,
Yeah.
because you've brought it with you.
Right. Yep.
And they've got and my other issue is, they've got Baby Mo in that papoose thing, which is really kinda cool, don't get me wrong. But sealed up like that, she doesn't have an oxygen tank. What is she breathing?
Yeah, that's true. I'm like, well, maybe there's some slots for oxygen to get in, but if that's the case, it's not doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it could have put a rebreather on it somewhere, I suppose. But at the same time, come on. But yeah, I mean, even in the car, they never should have taken the masks off. And glass doesn't really repel um radiation.
Mhm.
So I mean and even the metal of the car, depending, metal absorbs radiation.
Hmm.
So,
Girl, I
there's
don't
a
know.
I know, Erica. They are exactly. They're making us try to suspend all logic. And the bad thing is I actually know something about nuclear fallout, and it's just really sad that I do. Okay, I shouldn't have this stuff in my brain, but here it is, and it's making it hard. It's making
Yeah.
it so hard.
But it's been that way in this world, you know? It's been that way. We talk about it in a lot of other instances where this, you know, A and B doesn't make sense. If
Mhm.
C and D happens, this happens, but yet something else happened. Like, how is this
Yeah,
possible? We've talked about this like a ton of times.
I know. I think the biggest my biggest issue with them going this direction, um, this season is the fact that this is encompassing. This is all encompassing. It's blanketing this entire area, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really there there's so many inconsistencies. And again, I mean, anyone that was close to the blast radius, that's fine. You know, I mean, yeah, they're gonna be like, you know, the old couple there, which
Mhm.
probably weren't honestly that old. And but it was just the one that went off, and obviously Strand is in a radiation-free zone. So, technically, why is anyone still in that area? Why have they not left? You
Yeah.
know?
I don't know. Well, they did try, right? Like B said they tried to leave, right?
Mhm. They just couldn't get far
So,
enough away. But again, that
right.
upsets me because Strand's traveling around with his people with no problem.
Yeah.
He's been all over the place. They've got horses out there, for God's sakes.
I know, without taking mask off and the whole nine, like
Yeah. You
some
know,
people
there's
are
just
walking around looking like this, and other people are like, "Oh, let me just take the mask off and just tra la la, it's fine."
yeah. You know, so yeah, I mean, the episodes okay, like the drama between like Morgan and Grace and the baby and you know the weird jacked up couple even, you know, I really liked those moments. I thought they were well written. I thought they were compelling. Okay, they were very
Mhm.
compelling for this show. I'm
Mhm.
just having just issues with why a nuclear explosion? Why? Just why?
Because why not? That's what they're thinking, why not?
I guess. I mean, in some ways, it feels
Why
like they're
not?
jumping the shark because of it,
Yeah.
you know? But I don't know. I mean, we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with it. And again, part of the struggle is I know that they're behind the other shows and no one has said anything about, "Oh, 4 states are just gone. They're just a nuclear wasteland." You know?
I know. I know, but that's why I do feel like I still am holding on to the fact that they're gonna time jump us out this mess, because that's the only way they can kind of even somewhat let the rest of the world continue without directly addressing this, like, you know, right now.
Right.
Like
Well,
that
because
was some years ago, quote unquote, whatever.
you know, because again, Omaha wouldn't have been that far from where this is all going on. They definitely would have seen the cloud, you
Mhm.
know? Um,
Mhm.
there's no way that the CR would not have noticed, you know, being where they are.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. It's just it's a little frustrating because there's no way that something this big could go completely unnoticed everywhere else in the world or everywhere
Right.
else, you know, in the I
In
should
the
say the
region.
Walking Dead world. The Walking Dead
Yeah.
world, you know.
Right.
So, I don't know. I I hope there's a payoff, but you know, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, you know, the good thing out of all of this is at the very end, after all that drama, they go back to where they started. And hey, food, lots of
Yeah.
it. Yay.
I'm surprised they didn't look I again, I have some knowledge of submarines, and I know that they store stuff underneath on the bulkheads. No one thought to look, you know?
Honestly, I wouldn't have thought to look, but after seeing this show, if I'm ever in that situation, I will effing look. I will look. I
I
don't
know
know.
I know a lot of Navy guys, you know?
Yeah.
My son was in the Navy, so, you know. again, probably gives me more working knowledge than the average, you know, non-military person. But yeah, a lot of ships and a lot of
Karina says,
I know, Karina,
these
I'm sorry.
us regular folks don't know.
I know. But, you know, I'm just saying Morgan should have known. That's all I'm saying. Morgan should have
Yeah,
known.
looks like Erica agrees with you. So, all right. All right. Are we done with fear? We done
Yes,
with
I
this
think so. I
episode?
mean, we hit all the highlights. You know, they found food,
Yeah,
they ran into Morgan's people, the crazy weirdos, and they're
right.
stuck somewhere. They're stuck in the middle of Texas going with the wind. You know.
Lord have mercy. Right. Okay, so next up, World Beyond and woohoo, another
Woohoo.
episode.
Okay. So, let's see.
Yeah.
People trying to kill each other and it didn't work out and nobody dies and stupid stuff and yay. You know,
Yay.
does that pretty much wrap it up for everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
pretty good explanation, honestly. But I think for me, like, not even being funny, I feel like Silas's parts are the most interesting. Everything else is like blah.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Erica just brought something up. Um, we should probably mention real quick the hunter that we saw that had his brother's
Oh,
head.
yeah. Okay, I guess we can rewind for a second.
I just want to mention that real quick because I was really distressed about the dog. You know. and
Oh,
and then
well,
uh and then we see him sitting there. I'm like, wait a minute. And then he pulls his brother's head out of the box.
I thought that
So
was kind of cool that the actor got to come back
mhm.
as the brother, which he was mentioned earlier. He had a brother, but I
Yep, it
don't
was
think
his
we knew it was a
recipe.
twin brother before, right?
Right.
But I don't know. I'm curious to see how this kind of adds to the whole fiasco because he's on a vengeance mission, obviously.
Mhm. Well, and it doesn't
So
explain why Rufus ran off in that direction because I'm like, "Oh my god, where's the dog? The dog has been following Morgan forever. Why don't they have the
yeah,
dog?"
yeah.
And at first I was afraid that it might have gotten eaten and they just didn't show it, you know. So I was really happy to see him, with somebody.
Mm-mm. Well, I mean, I'm curious to see. I'm sure we'll know really quick, or Morgan will be aware of him probably really quickly.
Mhm.
Because I think he'll just come to the sub and try to like wreak havoc on them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but we also have to remember that now poor Rufus is out in the radiation with no protection. So,
And I'm sure Rufus will come right back normal, like nothing happened to him. And he was outside more than 6 hours.
yep. In some of the worst radiated areas. So, there's that.
Hmm.
You would
Hmm.
I gotta tell you, if I had the dog, I'd at least try to put a blanket or something over him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I
So,
guess in their defense, they're trying to take care of Mo. They had all that drama. I guess maybe they forgot about the dog temporarily. I don't know. I guess.
yep.
All
Alright,
right.
so, anyway, I just wanted to bring that up real quick, and then, we can move back over to the other show.
Okay. Let's look at Cleo's question.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. Did Huck cut her face after she killed her crew? Because last night they showed her cutting her face to go undercover.
Mhm.
Um,
They did show that in the first season, like, it was, like, the 1st or 2nd I think it was the 2nd episode, but that was her
mhm,
retelling of what happened.
mhm.
So, I don't think that was a true story sh that was a story she was telling, not an actual, you know
Real thing.
yeah.
Right.
And they did
Okay.
even bring up, you've done nothing but lie for 2 years, why do you think your mother would be honest? You know?
Good point. Yeah, and I'm sure she was like, "Oh my god, I never thought of that. My mother would lie to me." Lord,
Duh. You know?
duh.
Come I mean, it's not that she should be all that surprised, I mean, she had no idea, that they were going to bring, Hope and put her up on that roof, and make her, basically beg for their help.
Mhm.
and they had, there's been several other things that have happened that, she's been, pretty shocked that her mom has done. So the fact that her mom would lie to her should really not come as a surprise.
I know. I agree. I don't
I
know,
mean,
but Huck,
apparently it
aka
did.
Jennifer, is pretty dumb, I feel like, considering.
Yeah. Well, I think she has this blind obedience, this blind faith in her mother, and I know I think that she's kinda compartmentalized. My mom doesn't tell me everything because she's also my commander, but my mom would never lie to me because she's my mom, kinda thing,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I don't think that's I think, I mean, her mom is really the kind I mean, will brutally use her. I mean, my god, she had her break her daughter's arm, and she sat there and watched,
Yeah.
you know?
That was some crazy shit. I'm like, "Oh my god." Like, I don't
I
know.
although I gotta tell you, there's this moment where her mom was shocked, "Oh my god, what did you do to your face? Oh, come over here, we're gonna break your arm."
I know. It's like, in the
You know?
grand scheme of things, what do you care that she cut her face? Who gives a shit? You're about to
Yeah,
break her arm. Like,
I mean, that cut on the face was pretty, light compared to the whole arm breaking, and the way they would have broken it, it wouldn't have even been like a clean break. They could have done a better job to make sure it was a clean break, that it wasn't, she could have lost her arm,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I don't
And
know. It's a mess.
yeah, an absolute mess.
It's a mess. So, do you think that Jennifer should have lived? I mean, because like in this episode, Percy almost assassinated her,
Mhm.
but she was saved by Will or
Yeah.
whatever his
Well,
name is. Yeah. Do
and
you think
yeah.
she should die, or you think? I don't know. I don't
You
like
know,
her character. I don't.
I don't, but I gotta tell you, I'm really indifferent to her death, too.
Hmm.
I mean, if she lives, fine. If she doesn't, fine. I don't really care about her as a character or as a person,
Yeah.
on this show. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
the personal actress, have nothing against, but I mean, her character on the show, I mean,
Right.
I'm completely indifferent to her. If she dies, she dies. If she doesn't, she doesn't. I really don't care. She's fairly inconsequential because for all the manipulating that she did, she's being equally manipulated by her mom in the CR, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
She's not a good guy, but then again, she's not a complete bad guy either. She's just
Yeah.
I
She could
but
switch teams again, by being
yeah.
here right now and not telling where she's been is
Mhm.
kind of like, going against her mother, obviously. So maybe
Mhm.
she actually does care about them to a certain extent. I don't
I
know.
I think well, there's part of that, but I also think it's the fact that I mean, Hope does actually have some leverage over her, you
Mm.
know? And, Huck is for all that she has done, she is fairly spineless, you know? She seems to typically follow the course of least resistance, you
Mhm.
know? And I know that kinda sounds strange considering she was undercover for 2 years, but I mean, I mean, she really she she did it because it was the easiest way to get back into her mother's good graces. And obviously
Right.
she is very much under her mother's thumb because she was willing to, have her arm broken and thrown out.
I still
And
don't think it's too late for her to turn against her mother. Like, all it takes is, like, for example, when she went back and asked her mom, who did survive? You said you airlifted some people out.
mhm,
What are their names? You know what I mean? So it's
that's above
like,
above your pay grade.
right. But I feel like there's still room for her to really question her
Mhm.
mother and what she's saying to her and all this other stuff. So
And
there's
I
a
think that's
chance
what
for her to change.
they're setting her up for,
Mhm.
to come to a realization that her mother lied to her, which again,
Mhm.
all things being equal, I don't see why this is such a surprise, but,
Right.
apparently it is.
Right.
And, but, and then there was I did find it kind of interesting the interaction between Hope and Iris. Hope's like, "You need to come
Yeah,
back," and Iris is like, "We're not going anywhere that we're not gonna we can't get out of." And so and I can see Iris's point, don't get me wrong. I can absolutely see it.
I mean, Iris is making sense, and I think it's unfortunate that she could not be honest with Hope. She still wasn't honest with her. Hope's like,
No.
"Is there anything else I should know?" She blatantly
No.
looks at Huck and then goes, "No." Oh my
No.
god. No.
Mm-mm.
I
There's no
I
reason to
don't know.
know that, certain people are alive and here and,
Or the person that you are choosing to trust right now is a backstabber and a attempted, she tried to murder our people.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't she want her to have like cover her own back? Know who you're
Yeah.
dealing with. Why would she keep that?
Right. At the same
I don't
time,
get it.
though, Iris is like, "Well, you need to stay here," which is an equally bad idea
Yeah.
because at this point, the CR knows where, Hope is. Well, sort of. That they assume that she's still inside their compound. But if
Mhm.
she suddenly disappears, we all know her dad's not subtle.
No.
He's gonna have a screaming fit and, they're gonna realize that she's gone. They didn't take her, so, how did she get out? And then add
Yeah.
that up with the fact that Huck left. It doesn't
Mhm.
take a rocket scientist here, you know,
Mhm.
to figure it out. But yeah, so I mean, Iris demanding that Hope stay was just as just as bad of an idea as Hope, or Iris presenting herself to the CR going, "Hi, we're here. We found you."
I
Tag,
know. Like,
you
"Oh, we
know.
were out and we just came across them. Here they are." Oh, no.
No.
That's
You know.
stupid.
So, I mean, everyone's kind of at a cross purpose here. Everyone thinks that they're right and they all want, you know, you need to come with me. No, you need to come with me. It's kind of like that scene from The Lion King. Let me in, let me in, let me out, let me out. You know.
Okay. So let me ask you this, since we talk about plot holes sometimes. Do you think that Elton learning about Adira closes off that plot hole, the CRM plot hole? So what I mean by that is, how the perimeter has just let them exist, right?
Mhm.
Just let them be. All they have to do is put up some signs, veering people away. Oh, and we couldn't figure out why. Like, why is she letting them be? But turns
Mhm.
out, well, she's blackmailing her. Basically, we have this medicine, we have these machines
Mhm.
that you can use as long as you follow my directive, right?
Right.
So maybe that might close that plot hole where it's like, well, why are they letting them exist? Why are they there?
Well, I mean, I'm sure the CR looks at the community itself as an early warning system, you know.
Mm,
And since they have leverage over the leader, they know that they can keep the rest of the community in line.
yeah. But
I
that's
can
that's what I'm saying. Because of that, without that knowledge, it didn't make any sense before. Like, why would you do
Mhm.
it? But
Yeah.
now.
So, but she doesn't want her people to know that she's sick because, then they'll begin to question why she makes the decisions she does because they know that she's
Mhm.
dependent on the CR to live.
Yep. And she'll be
So,
loyal to them because she needs it,
mhm. You know,
which is interesting.
where's her first priority? Well, I'm gonna go with probably living, you know.
Mhm. But she still manages to do some stuff despite that, like,
Yeah.
hiding them and stuff. So it's like I guess she knows kind of what she can do and what's out of reach, right? So
Right.
I don't know.
So I mean, so we had a little tender moment between the daughter and um now I can't even think of his name.
Elton.
Elton, thank you.
Yeah, Asha and Elton. Oh,
Asha.
so cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know?
Mhm.
That's a good
Mm.
question, Erica, and we don't know why. Probably because people don't really go out much in the community. They
For
stick
those
around
not
close to home.
watching, Erica
Something.
asked, "Why was it so easy for Elton to find their infirmary, but people in the community don't know what's going on?" That was the question. Yeah, true. Point
Yeah.
taken.
I mean, it doesn't look like it's a, much used place, and I've noticed while a few people here and there kinda go out a little bit, honestly, the ones that go out the most seems to be Will and, Iris and those guys since they showed up. They really don't leave their community very often. There's really no
Mhm.
reason for them to go. You know, they just need to stay put and they grow their vegetables and they get everything else that they need from the CR.
Yeah. I don't know, it's a mess. And I think I saw, like, in the little preview for next week, like, they have this plan to leave there
Mhm.
and, like, go to the CR, but, like, approach from a different side so it won't look like they came from there.
Mhm.
Like, oh, okay. Let's see if that works. Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, it's and we can assume that, things are with their with Hope and Iris's dad. He's like a he's like a powder keg just waiting for a spark.
Yeah, I guess
Well,
that's a way to put it.
because I think part of it though is he's very used to getting his own way within
Yeah,
certain, within his bubble, Um,
right.
and I don't think he ever really pushed really hard to go back to his girls because he even said to Hope, "Well, I knew you were safe. They told me that you were safe, and the work's important." He is a
So
very
why was he sending those dumbass messages
he wasn't.
that made them Oh, yeah, he wasn't. Shit. That's right.
That's
See
right. He
how
wasn't.
quickly I forgot that?
Yeah.
I'm like, why would he send those messages? He didn't. Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot.
That's why he didn't.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know, he knew that they were safe and, I think
Yeah,
he's kind of myopic when it comes to, he's very invested in his work and so that's taking, you know, precedent, that's been his main precedence. But now that Hope is there, but Iris is not, and he knows that Omaha has fallen, he's now I think he's getting scared and he's trying to exert his what power he thinks that he has. He doesn't,
he
but
doesn't have any.
he doesn't
Not
have
really.
any, but he's been given the impression that he does. You're important, you know? And up to this point, any request that he's made, has probably been reasonably accommodated because it probably had something to do with his work, you know?
I'm
He's
gonna agree with both comments from Cleo and Erica. He's dumb and
Mhm.
he's gonna die. He's gonna die.
Yeah.
I feel like it.
Oh, yeah. Do you think these 2 little
Mhm.
girls are gonna somehow bring down the entire CR? If they do, I'm gonna be really disappointed.
That's what's gonna happen because that's how YA stuff goes. The heroes are
Yeah.
gonna be the kids. They're gonna save the day somehow, some way.
The thing of it
I don't
is
know.
I don't want the CR to fall per se, okay?
Mm-mm.
I mean, the fact is we need places like that if humanity's gonna survive. I don't approve of them going and killing off other communities. Okay, I don't like the whole, secret, death missions they have going on here. But as far as the community as a whole, not the military side of it, but the community as a whole, you know, the you know, the regular people, you know, this is,
Yeah.
we have to build in enclaves like this, and
Yeah. I think you can take down like I guess the bad seeds that
yeah.
are, making these rules and doing like killing whole groups of people
Mhm.
and still not destroy the entire community.
And the really sad thing is, like, Oklahoma was really actually a fairly good community. I mean, they weren't, as rigid and hierarchy. They didn't have the hierarchy like the Commonwealth does, where you're stratified based on your previous occupation, you know,
Mhm.
and, everything's very compartmentalized, and it's
Yeah.
not as militaristic as the CR is. Omaha was actually this kind of decent blend. They didn't have, a despot like the governor running them, and, and while the people inside weren't well adapted to living out in the real world, they at least had built a decent community within it,
Right.
and so, that Omaha or yeah, Omaha was kind of the is kind of the ideal, for this, what kind of setup to have in a post-apocalyptic world, and, of course, they die, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Hmm.
So
Well, we're still waiting around to hear Jadis's opinion or point of view or whatever she has to contribute to this whole mess.
mhm,
And I don't know. I mean, I still feel like they're opening up so many new doors, with the plot. And so I'm like, I really don't know what they're doing. But we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
Eh,
So, yeah, I think we pretty much covered the highlights of this episode because okay, I'm gonna make, just a general inquiry. Does anyone else really care anymore about the show? And I'm gonna wait for it
I
to go ping, ping, ping,
mean,
ping, ping. No.
I mean, we've established. I think most of the people watching this show are watching for the Rick stuff.
Right.
Most. I'm sure there's a couple people that really like the show for the show, but they're in the minority for
Because they're
sure.
12 years old and they don't know any better.
Yeah.
Hey, look, there they are.
Right.
There's all for the people that aren't watching the things, we have nope, 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 nope.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. We shall see. We'll see. I'm just gonna bid my time and wait for this mug to be over.
Mhm.
And that's that's what I'm doing. So many more episodes. I feel like it feels like so what, there's six more, technically. Six more episodes, right?
For
So
now.
oh God, for now. What you mean for now? That's it.
Okay.
What you trying to say? You think they gonna do more?
I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, here's the thing. Okay, they said two seasons, so on and so forth. This is it, and but they are opening so many cans of worms, and they're not answering anything.
Right.
What are they gonna do? Just keep opening up, cans and cans and cans of worms until like the very last episode, then go, oh, okay, well, here's all your answers. Goodbye. Y-
Oh
You know,
God.
I mean, seriously.
And that could
They
happen.
they need, I mean, starting this next episode, they have to start answering some of these questions. They won't, but they need
Yeah.
to for any of this to make
Yeah.
any sense,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm.
know?
Well, we shall see.
And still no sign of Jada.
No sign of her yet. That's
Mm-mm.
funny. Six too many. Haha.
Yep.
There better not be a third. There better not. There better not. That's all I'm saying. There better not be a third season. Don't do it to me.
I know. I could, I don't know. I just have this vague because again, 6 episodes is a lot, but again, they can unpack a lot in 6 episodes, but they haven't unpacked anything. Okay, in the first season plus, these episodes, they haven't unpacked anything.
Mm-hmm.
They I mean, we've gotten a little bit of light on a few things, but nothing that makes any of this make sense. We have no idea what they're doing with the zombies. We don't know why that they got rid of Omaha. We don't
Right.
know what what it is the CR's ultimate goal is, and it's apparently pretty shady. You know,
Yeah.
we don't we don't know w what any of this is for. They keep saying, "Oh, it's, to ensure that civilization can survive." Then why did you kill 20,000 people?
It's a lie. That's not their real motivation. We'll just have to see what it is because they
Yeah.
lying.
So like I
So,
said, I mean, they really have to start picking up the pace and start giving us answers because at this point, everything has just been a question. There have been no answers. Not really.
mhm,
Not to any of it.
Right.
It's just
Agreed.
been one giant question mark because none of it makes any sense. It doesn't even honestly make any sense why they made, why didn't they just tell Hope and Iris, "Hey, come over to the CR to be with your dad." They were bringing in kids all the time. Both of them were brilliantly smart. They both should have met the criteria. Why didn't they just pluck them up and put them in over there?
Honestly, they would have gotten what they wanted out of them much easier if they did that versus
Yeah,
this whole fiasco that they put them through.
exactly. They haven't, and again, we now know that they have, like, where they're collecting the brightest young minds. They have a school. They could have just gone in and taken both of them and said, "You meet our criteria. We have your father, and we know that you'll miss him and blah 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 blah." You know?
Yeah. Or hell, taking them all together and then let them figure out that there's shenanigans going on once they're there.
Mhm.
I don't know.
But here's the thing, if they
It's
had
dumb.
it is, but again, no one questioned them coming and taking their dad. If they had
Mhm.
and apparently no one questions them taking these other kids out of these communities and letting them go back and visit every, couple of months. Or every month or once a year for 2 weeks or whatever it is. They could have done the exact same thing with those 2. They could have plucked him right up and said, "Hey, we're taking you to your dad. We're gonna put you in this accelerated program," because they're both
Mhm.
smart. It's been,
Mhm.
commented on since the very first episode how smart both of them are, you
Right.
know?
It is
So
convoluted, like Grimes Girl said in the comments. It's
mhm,
very convoluted, more than it needs to be. I think they're really trying to pull at the drama, the teen drama parts,
mhm.
especially now with the little love interest. It's all fucking stupid. Excuse me for
It
cursing like
is.
that, but I don't even care. Um, I just want it over. So 6 more episodes, y'all.
Cross our fingers and hope we get some kinda answers for any of this.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Erica made
But
the
this
comment, "We're all too smart for this show to make any sense," and you are exactly right, Erica.
that's the problem. We're all too smart.
That's right. Because this show really was they're really kinda targeting, like, 12 to 15-year-olds is really the the niche for this show, and we're all
But
grown-ups here
it's what's
watching
even
this
stupider because no 15-year-old is gonna say, "Oh, let me start watching The Walking Dead because they have a YA one."
I know. One, it wouldn't make any I guess it would make a little bit of sense, but, I don't know, it's just the whole I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Like I said, the mentality of the show is like is targeting 12 to 15-year-olds, but we're all watching it because it's supposed to tie in with the 2 adult shows, you
Right.
know. And and it's not that I had anything against, I was actually really excited about this show when I started, seeing the commercials for it. I thought, "Well, this will be cool. This will be the second generation." And I was thinking Judith's.
Yeah.
Okay? That's where I'm like, "Oh, yeah." A little bit older adult versions of, like Judith and, oh, Christ, I forgot her name now. The one that she was a whisperer, um,
Oh,
but not anymore. But we all know who I'm
yeah.
talking about. Her. I thought it was gonna be competent young adults, that were starting to come into their own. Carl's, coming into their own, and facing this new world. That's what I thought it was gonna be, and I was really kind of excited about that. And that's not what it is. We have incompetent, juvenile Lydia, thank you. Um, competent or we don't have competent adults. Even the adults aren't really competent. They're either incompetent or mean. That's really all we have.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm so disappointed because they really could have done so much more than this,
I
you know.
agree. But there's always the end. They can end it right. I mean, it's gonna be probably all jam-packed in there, like, they've been strolling along, tra la la, and then they're gonna run to the finish line and cram everything in the last 2 episodes or something.
Yeah.
But
It's just disappointing because again,
yeah.
if they had a group of Judiths and Carls and, you know uh Lydia's and stuff, then that would have been an interesting group to watch. They're young, but they're competent and they know what they're doing, and this is a world they're familiar with and comfortable with. It's the only world they really remember, you know?
Yeah. Well, these kids also, unlike Judith and Carl and Lydia, they weren't out in the wild. They weren't
Yeah, I know.
raised in the wild. So,
Yeah, I know. But they still didn't
yeah.
have to be this stupid.
Yes, I agree.
So, anyway,
Yeah.
s so let's end it here, give your voice a break and give, all of us a break from this
Yeah, I
monstrosity.
think I think I won't be talking for the rest of the night so I can sound somewhat normal tomorrow. So,
Okay. You poor thing. I'm so sorry,
yeah.
sweetie.
Oh, thank
Feel
you.
better soon.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks, guys, for putting up with my voice today. I know I sound a little crazy, but trust me, it was way worse earlier. It was way worse. So, anyway, so we are done. We are calling it quits for today, and we will be back. Actually, next week we are going to have a pre-recorded episode, guys. So make sure you are subscribed in your podcast app of choice or on YouTube so you don't miss our conversation. We're going to have it pre-recorded because I have a family thing. So,
We will miss all your comments because honestly, I do
yes.
enjoy reading all your comments. I love interacting with you guys. You're so much fun, you know?
Yes.
But
Yeah, you guys make it fun, even funner.
yeah, but family duty calls, so,
Yes.
priorities.
Yes. And so that's it, guys. We will see you guys in a couple of weeks. And don't forget to subscribe to check out next week's episode. See you guys soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.